team you can trust. This is News 8 First at 4.
Congressman Collins cheated our markets and our justice system. He placed his family and friends above the public good.
Bold accusations today from the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York as Congressman Chris Collins is indicted on federal charges. Good afternoon, everyone. Congressman Chris Collins, who serves areas to the south and west of Rochester, could face a max of 20 years in prison if he's convicted. Federal prosecutors today said Collins violated insider trading laws. Selena Lewis joins us now in the newsroom with a breakdown on the investigation. Selena?
Well, the federal indictment states that Collins, who is a board member of Innate Immunotherapeutics, used his position in the company to tip off his son and others when he received non-public information about the results of a drug trial. Collins allegedly tipped them off to bad news about the clinical trial, prompting Collins' son, his girlfriend, and her father, along with other family members, to sell off their shares in the company before the stock tanked when the results of the trial went public.
He decided to commit a crime. He placed his family and friends above the public good. Congressman Collins was a major investor in Innate, and so was his son Cameron. The congressman knew he couldn't sell his own shares for personal and technical reasons.
Collins did not sell any of his own shares, but these charges stem from tipping off others. As a result of that tip from Collins, prosecutors say his son avoided more than $500,000 in losses, and the father of his son's girlfriend avoided losses of around $145,000, all at the expense of shareholders. Collins and his co-defendants all pleaded not guilty today in Manhattan federal court this afternoon. Maureen.
All right, Selena, thank you. In a statement today, the attorneys for Congressman Collins said in part, "We will answer the charges filed against Congressman Collins in court and will mount a vigorous defense to clear his good name. We are confident he will be completely vindicated and exonerated." Collins is running for re-election for the 27th congressional seat. His opponent for that seat is Democrat Nate McMurray. And in a statement today, McMurray said, "Anyone who's been paying attention knows what's going on, and now the jig is up because no matter how this is spun, it's clear that the swamp is alive and well in Washington, D.C." End quote. People on both sides of the aisle have been speaking out today, including Republican House Speaker Paul Ryan, who called for an investigation by the House Ethics Committee. He also removed Collins from the House Energy and Commerce Committee. Jeannie McBride spoke with the Collins constituents today, and she joins us now live from Geneseo. Jeannie, we have a divided electorate. What do people have to say about this?
Well, Maureen, like you said, I'm standing outside of Chris Collins' office here in Geneseo, but today it's closed. However, there was some activity. Earlier today, there were a bunch of notes placed along here from people who were not in support, but then supporters came and took the notes off, except for this one right here. Now, being that Livingston County is one of Collins' districts, I want to go talk to the voters to see what exactly they thought about these allegations. Now, as in politics, people have different opinions. Some said this was just another example of the corruption in Washington, D.C. Those who coined themselves non-Collins supporters told me it was about time. They were not surprised at the insider trading charges, whereas some supporters told me it was yet another attack on the Republican Party. Others, though, like Jeff Hogan, just want this to not be true.
I do vote Republican normally, so I kind of have mixed feelings on it.
I'm very happy. I hope this sends a message to all politicians that think they are above the law. And this only is on one level with Mr. Collins, but it goes straight up to our president, Mr. Donald Trump.
When I asked if people think that Collins will resign, they said that's not really an option right now because he is innocent until proven guilty. Maureen.
All right, Jeannie, thank you. We are working to learn more about how all of this impacts the congressional race, and we'll update you when that information becomes available. Meantime, Collins is holding a news conference to address the charges against him. That news conference will take place at 6:30 tonight in Buffalo, and we will carry that stream live on RochesterFirst.com. Rain and stormy this morning and more possibly on the way. We are keeping an eye on the possibility of flooding as the wet week continues finally. Chief Meteorologist Stacey Pendrin joining us now to give us an update. Stace.
Yeah, Maureen. Well, the good news is we didn't see any reports of any flooding earlier this morning, but take a look at all of the rain that fell from this first round of storms that came through earlier this morning. This is what it looks like, a loop over the last 12 hours. And yesterday, the heaviest rain just north of the Thruway. Today, the heaviest rain tracked just off to the south of the Thruway. And we did see some locally heavy rain. The Leroy area picking up between an inch and a half of rain very quickly. And then further off to the east, in Ontario County, about 2 inches of rain fell right around the Victor area. Now, in addition to that, we actually had a few reports of some trees down. This happened in Farmington. That thunderstorm was severe warned off to the west of us, but once it moved east of Rochester, was no longer severe. Still gusty enough to produce a little bit of that damage. Now we're looking at a drying trend, at least for right now across the metro, but we take you further off to the south, and we are keeping an eye on a few cells that are starting to strengthen a little more. That one near the Dansville area. Now this will track into the Finger Lakes, and it'll tend to strengthen at least a little bit over the next few hours, and that is what Futurecast is showing here. Any storm that does continue to fire, especially east of Rochester, will produce some locally heavy rain through about 6 or 7 o'clock. Cold front comes on through and then will really wind things down pretty quickly. Now the Bills are playing in Buffalo tomorrow. Let you know whether or not you need to bring an umbrella to that coming up. Maureen.
Thank you, Stacy. And whether you're planning outdoor activities tonight or looking ahead to the end of the week, we have got the latest forecast and weather alerts on the News 8 app. A Rochester motorcyclist who collided with another motorcycle last week has died. It happened on the West Ridge Road ramp to 390 South on Friday. 29-year-old Christina Roncone passed away yesterday. The other cyclist survived. A renewed push in Rochester to revamp zombie homes. Senator Chuck Schumer is calling on the Department of Housing and Urban Development to approve an agreement with the city of Rochester that would allow the properties to be rehabbed and resold to first-time home buyers. According to city officials, these homes account for more than $11 million in property value losses in the city and Monroe County.
Unfortunately, HUD in the new administration is not renewing this program. It used to be renewed every 2 years in February. This February, they didn't renew it, not just for Rochester, but for several other cities that are affected.
It is estimated that these rehabbed houses could boost neighboring property values by $15,000. Happening today, a walk in honor of a Webster teenager murdered more than 20 years ago. In August of 1995, 16-year-old Kelly Gatfield told her mother she was going to meet up with friends in the village, but she never came home. Months later, her body was discovered by a hunter in a wooded area off Phillips Road. The cause of death still unknown. The walk for Kelly takes place tonight at 6 p.m. It starts at the corner of Corning Park and West Main Street in the village of Webster. Well, say goodbye to the days of $1 water bottles at the state fair. This year, each bottle will cost at least $2. The price changed due to an exclusive deal between the fairgrounds and Pepsi. It also forces vendors to sell Aquafina brand bottles, and some aren't very happy about that.
I imagine I'll lose a considerable amount of sales, too. I have no edge. There's no free market here. Everybody has Aquafina, so there's no reason to go to me versus anybody else, and I'm going to lose just some quantity of sales from that.
Acting Fair Director Troy Waffner says it's part of a one-year trial to determine how many bottles are sold as the fair looks to standardized water. Standardized water will allow the fair to put its logo on the bottles and ensure a constant quality for drinking. Next year, the fair will request bids from water companies to be the official bottle provider for the fair. It will be a requirement that it's bottled in the state, like Aquafina brand. The state fair opens on the 22nd, and we have much more information about ticket packages, pricing, and concerts at rochesterfirst.com. More homeless women and families in Rochester will soon have a place to stay. The Open Door Mission opened a transitional facility today on Coldwater Road in Gates. Inside, enough resources to house 6 to 8 families.
The services provided here will really focus on strengths so that every family comes in and quickly identifies with their strengths, their potentials.
The shelter will officially open on August 20th. A reminder this evening, News 8 is the official broadcast home of the Buffalo Bills. We will be carrying tomorrow's preseason opener against the Panthers. Buffalo Kickoff Live begins our coverage at 6:30 tomorrow night, and the game follows at 7. We will also have post-game coverage. Still ahead on News 8, first at 4, sunflower alert. John Kutchko took his camera to the latest hotspot, and boy, is it gorgeous. See what else he got next.
Follow News 8 wherever you are on RochesterFirst.com and our apps for both news and weather. This is the team you can trust. You're watching News 8.